On today's podcast, we speak with Helen Scriven of Omorfia Interior Design. Helen had a hugely varied career, supporting her army officer husband and following him around the world before settling back in the UK and then being able to pursue her passion for interior design. In spite of struggles with confidence brought about by the menopause, Helen now runs a thriving business. Let's find out how she conquered her battles. Welcome to the HubCast, brought to you by the Interior Designers Hub, where we help and support interior designers to get trained, get into the industry, and to grow wildly successful businesses. If you want to work in the field you love, create the lifestyle you desire, and make the money you truly deserve, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Kate Hatherall. Let's get into it. I am so excited to welcome our guest today, Helen Scriven from Omorfia Interior Design. Hi, Helen, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's slightly nervous, as you know, but yeah, I'm good. I think I can hold it together long enough.
Oh, don't be nervous at all. Welcome to the HubCast. We're really excited to hear your story today. Now, before we begin, I should tell everybody that Helen is one of our diploma tutors on our diploma programme. And but Helen, when you go and look on her Instagram account, you may see that she has a different name on there. So Helen, can you talk us through why the difference with the names?
Yeah, so my real name is Eleni, which is a Greek Cypriot name, and we had a lovely little chat actually. Discovered the other Cypriots in Hub inside us the other day, so that was lovely. But because it's not the hardest Greek name to pronounce, but I do get a lot of wrong versions of it. I get a lot of Eleni and Elena. And then when I was a child, I realised that the English translation for it is either Elaine or Helen or. So I just decided, as you do, as a contrary 7-year-old, that it would be easier if everyone just called me Helen or Elaine. So I actually have more than two names. My mum's family all call me Elaine. I was introduced to my husband as Helen from a Greek Cypriot friend, but she was speaking English, so she called me Helen. So all my husband's family call me Helen. And pretty much most English people call me Helen, but my real name is Eleni. So it's not that I'm on the run. I'm not in witness protection. It's just a pronunciation thing.
And I will say to those people that are listening, when I interviewed Helen for her job and I asked her about the differences in names, she did say that she was in witness protection. Do you remember, Helen? And I completely believed you. You know, when you don't know somebody very well, and I didn't know whether or not she was taking the mickey.
Yeah, great. Is that true?
I thought it was better to err on the side of being sensible, but now I'm glad that there's a happier reason for your name change.
Yeah, just a contrary 7-year-old, really.
Alrighty, so let's dive into finding out about you and your business. So tell me about your business now, where you're located, what sort of design you do.
So mainly residential. I do dabble in the odd sort of commercial. It's not my favourite. I do prefer residential because I think you see more the effect that it has on people's lives, right, rather than a boss being pleased that his staff will work harder because they've got a nicer office, if that makes sense. So I'm based in Bedfordshire. Bedfordshire is quite a good location actually because we're surrounded by counties that are quite accessible and quite easy to get to. So I have lots of clients across Cambridgeshire, Hertfordshire, Northamptonshire, Buckinghamshire, even down as far as sort of North London.
Wow.
And then I have the odd one that's further afield that I do virtually. Again, not my favourite thing because I like to actually get in there and meet them and, have more of a sort of personal connection with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of hands-on. And so have you always been an interior designer, or was there a point in your life where you did something before interior design came into your life?
So I am 56. And I went into interior design by accident, really, officially 3 years ago.
Oh, wow.
It is something that I've done, 4 years ago, sorry. It is something that I've always been interested in. I've always dabbled in it. I've built brick walls, I've tiled, I've wallpapered, I've always, and most often on a budget, because I've got 4 children and didn't have money for sort of expensive fixtures and fittings. So
Yeah.
it was, what do they say? Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
So I got really, really good at doing things on a budget and doing sort of crazy things like making curtain poles and finials out of copper pipes and copper solder and things like that. So I have always been interested in it. And actually, a friend of mine and I applied years and years ago to go on changing rooms
Did you?
because we both loved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then things came up and we ended up not doing it. But so I have always been interested in it. But like I say, having 4 children, and also my husband is or was an army officer.
Right.
So that meant we moved around a lot, and the army quarters generally are awful. Even when you're an officer, they're not good.
Right.
Um,
And presumably moving like fairly regularly?
yeah, usually, I think the longest postings we had a couple of 3-year postings, but other than that, they're generally 2 years.
Wow.
So it's meant that we moved around a lot. We've lived in lots of different countries as well, which was great. I wouldn't go back and change that for anything.
Yes.
Um, but it does mean again that unless you're an army wife, and a lot of them are, they're happy to just move in and just accept that that's how they live.
Yes.
Whereas me, I'm all about the home. Next to obviously Phil and the kids, that's the biggest thing in my life. Is home. Um, so I've always been one of those annoying army wives who would move in and insist on redecorating, and knowing that I had to put everything back to Magnolia in 2 years.
Yes.
So, but the consequence of that was that I had 2 really happy years being in a house, living in an amazing location, rather than living in an amazing location but hating where I lived.
Yeah. I
Um,
totally get that. And I think I'd
it's worth
do
every
exactly the
penny.
same. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's worth every penny. And I remember lots of army wife friends sort of saying, "Oh God, how can you be bothered? You're going to be moving out." But well, I can be bothered because it makes me happy to be in this space, when I've put my stamp on it. And also, again, doing things really cheaply, because you don't want to spend, you're not going to get a whole new fitted kitchen. Although we did get close in one of the army houses.
The sign of a true interior designer. I don't care what it takes, where I am, how long I'm
I'm
here for.
doing it,
I
yeah.
have to make it look pretty. Brilliant. I love
Yeah.
that.
So, but then along the way, I had, and as often happens with military wives, is that you do whatever job you can get in that location
Right.
for that period. So I've been a holiday rep. I was accepted for cabin crew, and went through the training, but then broke my leg really badly, so
Oh,
couldn't carry on. So it wasn't meant to be. And actually, the airline that I was accepted by, they only had 2 planes. It's a very small Cypriot airline, and one of their planes went down. So it's like 50% chance that I would have been on it as crew,
wow.
and everybody on board died. So I said that was meant to be. I was meant to break my leg and not become cabin crew for that airline.
Wow. How
Um,
awful.
I know, I know. So what else have I done? Opened a restaurant in Cyprus while we were posted there. Um, Opened another place in Spain, or bought another restaurant, bar, bakery in Spain. Redid all of that, redesigned it all, and
So
thank
even opening restaurants, so you're in there decorating and
yeah,
designing.
yeah, definitely, yeah, definitely.
So
So
obviously a variety of lots of different things that you've done as you've moved around, and presumably that kind of equipped you with a load of skills as well. You were also saying about having 4 kids and having to do things on a bit of a budget as well. I mean, you must have come kind of quite prepared with lots of skills already under your belt.
yeah, I think a lot of women actually that have been at home or they've done part-time jobs to fit in around the kids. I think that often we undervalue the skills that doing that gives you.
For sure.
Um, and I think, I mean, of course, I have massive imposter syndrome, and I have a lot of sort of self-doubt about, oh, I'm too old to do this. Sometimes I worry when I go to see a new client that, oh, they're going to think, who is this old woman turning up? She's too old.
Ah,
I have all of those sort of doubts, but when I'm sort of pulling up my big girl pants and trying to, get over those fears, I tell myself that, I've got experience, I've got so much experience in mixing with different people and talking to different people and different cultures, and having respect and understanding for different cultures, and there are some quite big differences when you're looking at a different a multicultural society. When you go into their homes, they work differently, they approach business relationships differently, they have different tastes often, in interior design. And I don't think that if I hadn't had the experiences that I've had, that I would be nearly as well equipped to deal with things like that.
I
So
quite
that's what I myself when I'm pulling on the big girl pants.
I quite agree with you. And I think a lot of people underestimate how important those skills are. And in fact, being an interior designer isn't just about the design that you do. In fact, that's one of the smaller parts of it, in my opinion. It is about being able to read people. It's about being able to kind of understand the nuances in what they're saying. And some of it's marriage counseling,
Yeah,
all of those things, right?
yeah, definitely. And just you could be the best designer, talent wise and skills wise, but if you've got an abrasive personality, or you just find it difficult to get on with people, or you have a sort of level of disdain for some people, or you're not going to get anywhere, absolutely nowhere. I don't think. No, your talent is not going to carry you through past all of that.
Absolutely.
Um, so I'm really grateful for that, and I think if I had gone into this, of course, there's a bit of me that wishes I had realised at a much younger age that this is really what I want to do and I love it. Um, but I'm not sure. I'm not a very confident person anyway. I'm actually really, really shy. And nobody believes that just because I've got very good at putting a front on and hiding that.
And
Um,
you're a very personable person as well. Obviously, I know you as well, and you come across really well. So that, and in fact, for people to hear that, I think that's a really encouraging thing, because I think so many of us struggle with
yeah.
confidence. Our profile, putting ourselves out there, and actually, it's really nice to hear from a designer who comes across as really confident that actually things aren't always as they seem underneath
No,
the.
I'm definitely, the duck. It's all smooth on the surface, and underneath, I'm having like little, oh my God, I've got to go and see this new person.
Yeah.
And so, that I think anybody that's feeling that, don't think that you're odd, because I think there's probably more of us that feel like that than the opposite.
Yeah, I
Um,
completely agree.
and I think if I had gone into it straight from school, or I was 20 years old, whatever, I don't think that I would have had the confidence to be telling grown-ups what to do in their houses. Whereas now I do feel that age does give you a certain level of sort of gravitas, and it also gives you lots of other things that are not so good, but you have to grab onto the things that are good about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that whole, being able to feel that you're confident enough to advise people and that you've got stuff to bring to the table, I definitely think that comes with age as well. So for those people that are out there listening, thinking, oh, I'm too old to do this. We see this all of the time. We have designers in their 40s, 50s and 60s who are starting new careers, and it's absolutely never too late to do it.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, without making this too much about age and menopause, but menopause it can be such a sort of soul destroying time in a woman's life. And it's a really big shock to sort of all of a sudden you feel, what's my purpose? I'm not here anymore. My children don't really need me that much anymore. And
Yes.
what is the point of me being here? And physically things start to change, and that's really quite depressing. Um, and you feel in a way invisible. There's a real sense of becoming invisible when you hit that sort of menopause age.
Yep.
So for me, getting past that, and a lot of that was to do with really good HRT and going
Yes.
to I was fortunate. I went to a private consultant, and I would recommend it to anybody that is struggling to get enough help on the NHS. But had I not done that, I would not be practicing as an interior designer now, because I was so far removed from the person that I'd been previously that I was sort of considering. I mean, at the time, I was working part-time at the college, at the local college. And my memory and my brain fog was so bad that I was on the verge of giving up work. I thought, I can't work anymore because I can't actually do my job.
Yeah.
I was on the verge of giving back my driving license, and you know, I know that my experience of it was quite severe, and not everybody has that. You know, don't, if you're coming up to that sort of age, don't panic and think that that's going to be your experience as well, because it isn't. Um, but I mean, I think it has done wonders for me, getting past that, you know, getting some treatment, and then starting to feel more like my old self,
Yes.
and then really making myself sort of find the courage to keep going and keep doing it. And you know, and it's just so satisfying, you know, that when you have helped somebody and you know that you've helped them, and you know they cry when you do the reveal or whatever it is, it's just an amazing feeling, you know, because you know that you have made a good impact on their lives. I can't say enough how lovely it is.
Absolutely. And I think, talking about kind of the menopausal symptoms that you were experiencing and the help that you had to go looking for, thank goodness for Davina McCall and all of the work that she has done, raising awareness that make, the women coming up behind you, as it were, able to access that sort of help more easily and able to, if you look at it, you've changed, you've created this whole career for yourself in spite of, those difficulties that you faced. And that's something to be, we don't often kind of look back and recognize how far we've come and the challenges that we've overcome, because once we overcome them, we're sort of, oh, well, I'm here now, and we don't ever look back. And I think sometimes
don't analyze it enough, really. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's important to look back and kind of just say, yeah, I've done this. I've done this, I've achieved it. And I've done that in spite of all of those challenges that I was facing.
Yeah. No. And I mean, we're not a particularly overly demonstrative family or anything. We don't sort of go around telling each other how wonderful we think the other person is or anything. But every now and again, I mean, Phil does it all the time. He's always saying, I'm so proud of you. And, it's just amazing what you've done and whatever. And now and again, one of my kids will say something slightly off the cuff, just like, oh, I'm really proud of you. And they get on with their day,
Running away quickly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it is nice. It's nice showing. I mean, I've got two boys and two girls, so it's also nice showing my two girls that, well, they remember how I was. We call it the lost years. Before I went, and got help for menopause and HRT, and it's really nice to sort of show them that it doesn't have to be the end of your life. There is something, even if it is a change of career or it's whatever it might be, you want to pack up and go traveling or whatever, just because you've hit a certain age doesn't have to mean, well, that's it, get my slippers and my rodeo times. I'm sorry, Jane. But you know what I mean, that it's nice to sort of show my daughters and my daughters-in-law that you can really do anything you put your mind to it, and there will be a point when your children don't need you as much, or your small children don't need you as much, and then it is time for you again.
And what a fantastic message. And you mentioned there about your daughters and your daughter-in-laws, but actually there will be many people that are listening to that will take inspiration and comfort from what you've just said. And, it's so good that, here we are talking about interior design careers. We're talking about the menopause. We're talking about changing lives. And it's, having these conversations is so important to get the message out there. So tell me a little bit about, obviously you moved around a lot. You were, following your husband around to his different postings and doing lots of DIY, and obviously having a passion for decoration, design, interiors. Was there a distinct point that you kind of realized, I want to do this professionally? Or was it kind of a gradual realization?
Yeah, it snuck up and sort of hit me on the back of the head. So the year before COVID, my daughter, who had moved back in, and she was quite fed up, and she was not very happy. She wasn't very happy at work, but she is absolutely mad on plants and gardening and things like that. Never done anything with it. It was just a hobby. She just liked them. So she just decided one day that she was going to join the local college just on a leisure course for horticulture. And I thought, oh, that's nice. And then I had a look and I mean, do you know what? I think I might do a course as well, just for fun, for fun. Mm-hmm. So, and then I sort of, looked around. I didn't look around very hard, to be honest, and came across the diploma. I'm really sorry to say it wasn't the Interior Designers Hub. And I'm always saying I wish I had come across the Interior Designers Hub rather than where I did it, because it was a completely different atmosphere. There was no hand holding, there was no nurturing, there was no relationship with your tutor, nothing.
Sure.
And I tried, I really tried with my tutor. I tried sending like, hello, how are you? Emails, nothing back whatsoever. Um, and I would say probably when I was doing the course, about 70% of my assignments were just marked by a random tutor, and then 30% were marked by my designated tutor.
Right.
So for me, I would have liked more hand. I would have liked what we do at the
Yeah.
hub. I would have liked the more hand holding and the more personal relationship. Like I've loved meeting up with some of my students at Decorex and things like that. I love it.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was, working away on this course on the diploma, loving it, absolutely loving it. Once I got past the initial sort of shock of, oh my God, I've got to write an essay, or, it's been a long time. And then once I sort of got into it, I absolutely loved it. And then towards the end, I was nearly finished. I was probably on module 9. Somebody on a local Facebook, my community Facebook group, put, anybody know of any local interior designers? And she put it
Ah,
a couple of days before and nobody had replied. And I thought, shall I?
yes.
Well, I'm not really. Um, but I did. I I put on there. Well, I'm studying to be. Well, I'm not quite finished, but I'm nearly there. And if I can help, I'm happy to. And from that one comment, I got 8 inquiries.
What?
8 inquiries from that one comment. They didn't all turn into jobs, but it was enough that it kept me bumped up on the post for quite some time, and people.
Wow.
And I think I had probably 3 appointments out of it and 3 clients out of it. So that was an amazing start, and I wasn't even ready. I mean, that
Yes.
literally, that was say a Thursday. I panicked. I went into panic mode. And that weekend, between me and the kids and Phil, we made a website. We drew up, draft leaflets and things on Vistaprint and sent them off to be printed.
Yep.
And we put a price structure together, and it was insane. And why I thought I had to have everything ready by Monday morning, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
But panic took over, I think. And I feel like I needed all of those things in place,
Yes.
help me get over the imposter syndrome.
Mm.
That if I had a website that maybe meant I was a little bit genuine, you know. So anyway, it just sort of went from there. And I didn't ever intend to, I don't think I ever really intended to go into it professionally. I think I was just doing it for fun. And then it sort of took off from there. And then, of course, COVID hit and everybody had more money than they knew what to do with. And so I was in the right place at the right time and the business just took off. And touch wood, for the last sort of 3 years, it's been flying. And usually, and people were often surprised when I said this, I for most of that time would be working with about 10 clients at any one time.
Wow.
And I said that to people, they go, what?
Yeah.
10?
Yeah. I'm thinking that.
Yeah, they weren't all big jobs. Some were small jobs, some were bigger. Some might just be a bit of advice for colour or whatever it might be. But generally, it was about 10 people or so.
Wow. You mentioned about kind of some of those mindset gremlins that you've had about being an interior designer, that kind of sense of imposter syndrome and not feeling that, who am I to be doing this, that sort of thing. What do you think have been the things that you've been able to do to help you get over those? So why are you not just sat hiding in your room? What's enabled you to kind of push that to one side and get on with it anyway?
Um, so I think I'm probably just quite stubborn. I think, although I am very shy, and I'm quite, I mean, I would probably say even timid in some ways, which nobody believes. Um, but I'm also very stubborn. And when I've put my mind to something, I really don't want to beat it. And also because I love it, so I don't want to let it go. It would be far, far easier to just sort of say, oh no, it's too difficult. It makes me too stressed. And I feel a bit sick when I'm going to go and see a new client. And, it would be easy to just give in to that. but yeah, who does easy?
Absolutely. So you're feeling the fear and doing it anyway.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Amazing.
And it is about, I think the more you do things that make you afraid, they do get a bit easier. Like I said, when I went for the job with the Interior Designers Hub as a tutor, and I've said this to you before, I wasn't going to take the interview because I found out it was Zoom, because I don't like Zoom. I find it, I don't like being on camera. I find it really hard not to look at, oh my God, my forehead is too big, or my nose is big, or, I find it really hard. And so I almost didn't take the job or apply for the job because it was a Zoom interview. And then I thought, oh God, just try it. If it had gone horribly wrong, I probably would have left Hub Insiders and
Never show
never
your face again.
face again. Yeah. Um, but I think the more you do things that frighten you, the easier it gets. And, today was an example of that. So I've been looking at you, every time you put the call out for people to do the podcast, I'm like, oh, I'd like to remember. No, I can't.
Yeah.
Um, and so, I mean, I literally was walking around in a panic before we started chatting
Oh, bless you.
today. But I've done it now, and it means that if somebody else asks me in the future, I've already done it, so I can do it again. If I've done it once, I can do it again.
Absolutely, and I think you're completely right about that. And I think I remember the first time that I ever went and did a client consultation, and I was kind of shaking and trembling so much that I think it was probably visible, and I was embarrassed by it at the time. In fact, I'm still embarrassed about it now. But
Yeah,
now I wouldn't think twice about doing that. And I'm just like, okay, so what are we doing here? Let's meet the client. Let's find out what they need. When you go into that practical mode. Whereas at the time, I was very focused on me and how I was coming across and whether I knew enough and what the person thought of me and all of those sorts of things. But you're absolutely right. The more that you do it, the easier it becomes, to the point,
yeah,
again, where you don't even realize that you've kind of conquered that mountain, because now you just can.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think definitely, like you, the first few consults that I did, absolute sheer terror for the whole day leading up to it.
Yes.
Um, Now I maybe have a little bit of, oh, God, I need this new one today.
Yes.
But it's fleeting. And,
Yes.
it probably doesn't even register a lot of the time that, yeah, I'm a little bit nervous about going to see this new one. There
Mm.
are still conversations that I find really difficult. And I had one the other day with a client, and it was basically in the middle of the meeting. I just felt like I had to say to them, I'm sorry, this is not, I don't feel I can take this on, because it's really clear from what you've put on your client form and what you're saying now that you don't value my services. You're happy to pay for a lighting designer. You're happy to pay, this amount for your room to be done. But at the core of that, all you keep saying is about keeping my fees to a minimum.
Wow.
Um, and I'm afraid that that's not a good sign for me. It makes me feel undervalued. It's showing that you don't recognise or value my expertise and my skills and the value that I can bring to your project. So, but I was
Oh,
nearly
wow.
doing it. It was such a hard thing because I don't like confrontation. For me, confrontation, I'm only successful at confrontation generally if it's a big screaming match, a very Cypriot style screaming match, because then there's enough emotion and you can shout and you can scream. But obviously you don't do that in professional life, so you want to keep it sort of nice and calm. But I find that really difficult, and it's so I was shaking. My voice was quite tremory, and
Yep.
I don't think I probably came across very well.
But
But I have
what a
it.
lot of confidence that takes, though, to be able to do that. Like, even though you were feeling, um, wobbled by it, let's say, you had the confidence to know your worth, to know that what they were saying wasn't right, that they weren't a good fit for your business, and that you were going to walk away from it. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it is. I mean, as it happens, the wife sort of pulled it back, and I am continuing with them. But I feel that now I've said that to them. If I need to say it again in the future, if I feel that way again, if they make me feel that way again, I'm going to be quite happy saying, do you know what? I'm going to refund you whatever the balance of your hours is or whatever, because I don't feel that we can continue. And now that I've got, I've got enough confidence to say that to them the next time if it happens. Hopefully it won't, but
Amazing.
yeah, I mean, I think anybody listening that does have, a sense of nerves, or I'm never going to be able to be that open with a client or say what I'm feeling, you just do it once, and once you've done it, it will give you courage for the next time and the next time and the next time. It doesn't matter how stressful it is and whether you have to come home and have a lie down, which is what I did. I was so stressed by the time I got home. I just walked in and said to Phil, I'm going to go and have a little nana nap.
We love a nana nap here. We love
Yeah,
a nana
nana
nap.
nap. Yeah, I mean, I should call them a siesta or something, because it's much more sounds much more sophisticated then, doesn't it?
Than a
Cosmopolitan.
nana nap. I don't know. I quite like a nana nap. I mean, that is amazing, and it just goes to show, and hopefully people listening as well will take lessons from this, that it's okay to feel scared and terrified and very wobbled by all of the challenges that you face when you're dealing with clients and problems on projects and things, but that if you can just push through it, that these things do become easier, and you find that the more experience you get, the more that you can take in your stride, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, wow, Helen, what a great story from start to finish, and what a fantastic journey. And I know that it's going to inspire so many people to, either get out there and begin to study interior design, to set up their businesses, and to not be put off by the things, the challenges that you faced, feeling that you'd spent a lifetime moving around, the issues with menopause before you were medicated, all of these challenges that you've overcome, and you've now got a successful interior design business, very credible. You're a tutor for interior design, and it just goes to show what you can achieve when you don't let those fears bring you down, but you push through them and make it yours.
Yeah, I've always thought I'd much rather be on my deathbed, um, saying, "Well, I'm glad I gave that a go," rather than, "Oh, I wish I tried it." And that's, whether that was living abroad or whether that was trying, completely changing career or whatever it might be. Just give it a go. And, if it's something that you love, it does make all the scary bits worth it.
I love that. Sage advice, sage advice. All right, Helen, before you go, are you happy to play a game of designer this or that?
Yes,
Okay, so
definitely.
what I'm going to do, I'm going to put 1 minute on the clock, and we are going to run through a list of options. You have to choose this or that. There's no middle ground here, not both. I will
Okay.
bring you back if you say both and make you answer the
Put
question.
my specs on.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, 1 minute starts now. Marble or granite?
Marble.
Pendant lights or recessed lighting?
Pendant.
Contemporary or traditional?
Traditional.
Eclectic or uniform?
Eclectic.
Wallpapers or paints?
Wallpaper.
Indoor plants or water features?
Plants.
Smart home or classic home?
Classic.
Wood or metal accents?
Wood.
Bar stools or dining chairs?
Oh, that's a tough one. Dining chairs, I suppose.
Statement art, one piece of, or gallery wall?
Gallery wall.
Chandelier or pendant?
Pendant.
Sheer curtains or blackout curtains?
Back out.
All right, and that is the time up. Amazing. Thank you so much for playing designer this or that.
Yeah, it feels like there should be and in that round you scored 6 out of 10.
Hey, there's no right or wrong answers here, just your preferences. Amazing. Helen, thank you so much for coming and joining us on HubCast today. Can you let us know where people can get in touch with you if they'd like to connect?
Yes, of course. So I am on Instagram, which is Omorfia _ interior _ design. Facebook, which is just Omorfia interior design, and my email is Eleni at omorfiadesign.co.uk.
Amazing. Thank you very much. So, Helen, thanks so much for joining us today. We've really appreciated it, and we wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you, lovely. You were right. It was very enjoyable in the end.
I'm pleased to hear it. Take care.
Take care. Thanks.
Thank you for tuning into HubCast by the Interior Designers Hub. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please take a screenshot and share it to Facebook, Instagram, or your favourite social media channel. Make sure to tag me in at Interior Designers Hub and let me know what you enjoyed about this episode. I reply to each and every comment. I'd also like to offer you an incredible free gift, which is going to show you the exact roadmap that you need to take to become a wildly successful interior designer. It shares our secrets to business success. If you'd like to get your hands on that, head on over to interiordesignershub.co.uk/roadmap right now. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.